morning. I don't know, but very happy to have you in, and welcome to this You Change the World. Uh, I think seventh or eighth session, but we did in fact 12 in total for this day. So it's a bit of an anniversary if we did it every month, right? It would be our first year at anniversary. And welcome to Terry. Uh, and she's here with us, and it's very nice that she accepted my invitation. So good evening. How are you?
It's good to see you.
Yes, yes, it's really great to see you. So I will give you just a little housekeeping as I always do because I have to. So we are, on different channels of the social media and potentially also very soon on other things. So we'll talk about it later. But what I want to make sure is that you know that there is a chat. Everybody knows that and can send messages, questions. We cannot reply, unfortunately, online because it's still a trial, I think, between Restream and LinkedIn. But please do send your messages, your questions, and we'll be very much keen to answer and read them while we on air, both of us. So Terry Maxwell is someone who I could introduce for hours. It's incredible what she does every day. Maybe the best, and I think it's embarrassing, but I'm going to do it nevertheless, is to ask you a little brief introduction about you, as the person you are, like your life more than your work. If you could give us just a small introduction, that would be very nice. And if you're too embarrassed, then I'll try to do something, but please.
Yeah, I think I consider myself a person that is committed to transformation and evolution. So the better I get, the more I can help the world. And so I just focus on being a little bit better every day. And then as I learn new things, I just try to share them with other people.
So what did the trick? When did this idea came up that you start, maybe you did this all your life to help other people, but when you did it more officially, like making a living that way?
Yeah, so I had an incredibly traumatic childhood and got out of that situation and found I had this natural gift for growing businesses, began to chase success like we all do. And although I was making tons of money and I was a serial entrepreneur, I'd taken companies public, I felt like my soul was dying. And I will never forget was the spring of 2008. I knew I had a very successful business at the time, but my soul was dying. And I just said, you know what? I'm out. I am going to sell this business as quickly as possible because I knew a recession was coming. I'm going to start all over and I'm going to use these gifts that I have for growing businesses to grow things that matter and try to make the world better. And that's where it all began.
Wow. Right, that's very powerful, and it translates into what? If we're now, I said we're not talking too much about work, but I people are nevertheless intrigued about finding out what is it that you really do. So it's called Shift Co for at least the name that I know because I'm a little bit involved with that. But I yeah, so please give us a little bit of an idea.
Yeah, shiftco.global is a culmination of everything I've learned about how do you grow a business that does good in the world? How do you make money doing good? And shiftco.global is a lot of the lessons that I've learned, as well as over 60 other master teachers, 6 coaches that have doubled and tripled their own business, 5 mentors who are very successful as well, and we just came together to help other entrepreneurs do good in the world and build a successful business.
Okay. So what is the feedback you get from if you get any feedback from, I would not say your direct clients, so to speak, but more about their clients, about the end user of this good that the people do?
That's the part that I love. I'll give you a statistic. Every month, we look at every member and we look at where they are in their evolution and how far has their business gone. And as of May 31st, 75% of the members who are using our platform have doubled or tripled their revenue in 1 to 2 years. And
Mm.
we haven't even been in place for 2 years. So that's like mind blowing to me, because there are people that have houses because their business, they built a house, they're putting their kids through college, they're They're able to add team members to their business to make their business better. And all of them are like your business, are trying to do good in the world. So knowing that I'm helping people grow their impact and that's my job, it's like the best job in the world.
It is. It sounds really very, very incredibly powerful too. I'm just curious now about more about situations we can eventually describe that represent really a story for a day. Like if we go to your platform, there is a lot of content over there, a lot of exchanges and interaction opportunities, a lot of content, a lot of learning. And I don't know where you got all this talent of yours also to be a good teacher and a good trainer, but it is a very professional, well put together platform. And I'm just curious about stories you could share, maybe one or two, where people really had a transformation, but not only of their business and making money, it's more about transformation of their purpose, of their lives. They could connect to something.
Yeah, and I mean, I could think of dozens, but the one that I see frequently is people come to Shifco and they have business A and
Right.
they like business A, but they have this calling to something else. Like, I'm supposed to be doing this thing over here. And we help them grow business A while we show them how to pivot to this thing that their heart and soul is really calling. And before you know it, they're a serial entrepreneur and they have two businesses, or they found a way to sunset the first business and do the second business and
Mhm.
still, have a viable income and grow and scale that. And I know for me, because I had that same shift where I was doing something I was good at and I was making money, and I said, you know what, my soul is dying, I want to do this thing over here. And I had to make that pivot myself. That is one of the most rewarding things, is helping people get on the path of purpose and realizing they can be both profitable and purposeful.
And purposeful. So your soul was dying. You said this about three times. I cannot stop. Like I didn't want to let it go, but now I don't let it go. Please explain to us a bit what it means. I mean,
I, you know, I couldn't. It made no sense to me because I had this very successful business. I wasn't. I mean, we were probably 7 million in revenue. I had 40 people working for me. They were doing all of the work, so it wasn't like I was working too much. But I just felt like we were growing things that didn't matter,
Hmm.
and because we were a growth strategy company, and I had this one client. This is when it started. Had this one client, and we worked very closely with them. It's a very well-known brand today. It wasn't at the time. It's called Holy Guacamole, and I remember working with the founder and the management team, and they were different. Like, they were building a company, but they were trying to do good.
Hmm.
They cared about their employees. They cared about their partners. And I remember just kind of tilting my head and like, how do I get more clients like that? Because it fed a part of me, it fed my soul. And everything else, the other 99 clients that I had, it was just, what's our revenue and what's our profit, and none of it seemed to matter. But with them, it was personal. Even though it was a guacamole product, the business was personal to them, and they cared about every employees. And they would do these very special things for their team members and their partners. And I knew at that point that I had to do something different, because if I kept going the way that I was going, I think I would just crawl up and die. I just felt like my soul was dying.
Okay. Maybe there's maybe something about the people you were dealing with, maybe from the previous activity where you maybe dealt with corporations and different people at different levels. Isn't that maybe possible that now in this new format you were dealing with the business owner, maybe, or
That was part of it, and I knew that was part of it. But the other thing that I realized as I started kind of opening my eyes, and keep in mind this was 2008,
yeah,
I thought I was the only person in the world. I didn't know there was conscious capitalism and B Corp and small giants. I didn't know that all these other organizations existed. I thought I was the only person that felt this way. But when I really stopped and looked around, and I started going, wow, what if I helped that business grow? What if I use these gifts that I have to help that business grow? They're trying to help seniors
Right.
Wow, wouldn't that be good? And what if I help this business over here? They're trying to help entrepreneurs do X, Y, and Z. And that's when I got it. It wasn't just working with founders, it was truly working with companies that were somehow trying to make the world better. And the business was just their mechanism to do it.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, you know what? This is the thing that bothers me all the time when companies are discussing or sharing things about culture, the corporate culture thing, kind of thing. And for some reason, it's not always resonating with me. I don't feel it's sincere, or it's. And in fact, I also have an experience of one day when a large company had a half a day facilitated by a coach. It was not me. About, in fact, identifying what culture they had. And so you had all the stakeholders, all the head of departments. They were never, they were have, all their clipboards and everything and throwing ideas on the paper. Nobody came out with an answer, what the culture of that company was. And then, I went back home and I said to myself, they all really, some of of course, there is something like a corporate culture, no question. But usually you go back to the founders to find out if there is one, right? It's when they really establish the company. But that's what I think you're touching upon. At least I see that. It's that the soul that you were talking about, and the fact that the purpose and the culture remains, all the way through. It's the DNA of the company. It's the DNA of the founders. And then they pass this through. After that, we want to cash out one day, maybe. We want to sell out this business. And now another owner comes in, and maybe other agendas, other interests. It's purely financial, for example. And your company overnight is worth 100 times more because for some reason in Wall Street or pre-IPO situation. So the world of business, when you say, when you talk about business and you talk about making the world a better world, there's a little bit of a contradiction here.
So I'll tell you, there's three things that I've found. One is what's called stakeholder capitalism, which I think is a whole different thing than culture. Stakeholder capitalism is, I don't want to serve just my shareholders. I want to serve my employees, my partners, contractors. So that's number one. What's your intention? And it comes back to intention. Do you just want to make money, or do you want to create a win-win? Secondly is product. And I'm going to use a great example. This is one of my favorite products. It's called Izzy Beauty. And what Izzy Beauty said is, they're like, beyond water, makeup is the biggest polluter of our planet. After water bottles, it's makeup.
Yeah.
And so they invented a way, it's stainless steel, and they've got mascara, they've got lip gloss, they've got eyebrow stuff, that it's stainless steel, and they ship it to you, you use the product, they ship you a new one, you ship it back, they completely recycle it. You can get 250 years of recycling out of this product. 250 years. It's 10,000 uses out of this product. And that is intention. So their intention is, I want to create a high quality makeup brand, but I don't want to pollute the environment to do it.
Yeah.
So product is number two. And then the third is marketing and pricing, which is really thinking about the value you provide rather than what you get. And so those are the three things that make a truly conscious business: stakeholder capitalism, and a pure intention of the product doing good. And then third is your profit and marketing focus is authentic, and it's designed to serve the people that you work with, value-based.
Thank you for that. It's fantastic, really. It describes a new way of being an entrepreneur, really. I don't know if it's a new way, but that's the way of maybe our great-grandfathers and grandmothers.
That's what I uncovered. That was the beautiful thing. My grandfather was my first entrepreneurial mentor.
Yeah.
And he had a juice bar in Sarasota, Florida. And he taught me that profit is the tip your customers give you when you serve them well. Like, 4 years old, I learned this. And that's how they used to do business. And conscious business is about getting back to that.
Okay. Yes, I hope everybody catches this idea, because it's definitely very it's a core value of what a business can be, and staying on purpose and being intentional as you said, because the work that we do every day here on the coaching side is to make sure people have an intention before they do something out of their comfort zone. If I have the intention to handle a conversation that's going to be difficult, my intention is to have this conversation positive, an outcome that can be win-win. That's the whole thing. You drive the whole energy with this intention. A human intention is a huge nuclear power to make things happen. And when you said that, I really could identify with that very much. Changes the whole paradigm.
If you think about the way that you approach your business, you're starting not only helping people get clear on what their true intention is, but you're starting from a pure intention. The way that you make the world better is helping them gain that clarity. And that the pure intention in the people that we serve and the product that we're putting out there and the way that it's, value based versus just make money, those three intentions are really the hallmark of a conscious business.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes. And is there anything that is a threat to that in this current world where we are it's a little bit confusing out there these days?
COVID was kind of interesting because
Yeah.
I watched the conscious business statistics. I publish a report every year of the data that I've compiled. And prior to COVID, the interest in conscious business, consumers purchasing consciously, was really falling. And I thought, oh, this is going to be interesting. But ironically, COVID actually really spurred the movement. The interest in making conscious choices as a consumer. In 3 out of 4 people today start businesses to make the world better in the top 9 the top industrialized countries. We've never seen statistics like that. So I think when I step back and look at what the threat is, and it's why ShiftCo.global is so important to me, is if entrepreneurs can't be successful in that business model, then they'll quit and they'll do something else.
Right.
And that's why I started ShiftCo, because I want to help them make more money doing business in a more authentic way.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And that's what they learn through the process.
Yeah.
You do this at different levels, right? It's a progression, right?
Yep. There's 6 different stages that businesses go through, and they come wherever they are, and we help them get to the next stage so that they're growing their impact as they're growing their profit.
Right, right. And whoever you are out there, and if you're interested in trying this or joining that, and they are good candidates, of course, you have to also fit the profile of an ideal entrepreneur who really wants to do good. But
Yeah.
if this is the case, you should give it a try. So where should they go on the web?
Yeah, so we shiftco.global. There's videos up there. We have free events that people can attend to get to know us. For us, it's about a relationship, not about having a new member. We want to work with people who truly want to make a bigger difference and build a more successful business.
Right, right. There is another category of people that I deal with a lot, is that they are having a job in a corporation because they need the security of having a salary and paying the bills every month. And then they of course there's the time that they use every day to build up a business. There's many people who do that these days. Maybe that was always the case, but right now I think there's a trend. So it's not that I encourage it, because obviously sometimes your work can be affected by that. But if you have integrity to the people that employ you, and you want to do this on your own, and you have a kind of a midterm plan, like 2 years ahead or something like this, it's totally legitimate to do that. So what can we say to these people? For those who are, in fact, busy 8 or 9 hours a day, and then they take the extra 3 hours a day to build a business. I mean, I know that there's a good number of people like that are watching.
Yeah, it is a very high number, and I'm a big proponent of, excuse me, a planning process. We have a pathway called Jumpstart,
Yeah,
and it helps people go from, hey, I'm working and I've got a couple of hours a week in my business, to beginning to unwind the work and then get the business strategy in place. because that leap is really important. And I feel like that's a more sustainable way, because if you just, jump and you don't have the financial resources, it's so scary that you end up quitting too soon. So I love to help people make that segue.
Right. Yeah. The discouragement can be coming very soon after the first idea comes up, and you should not also count on you to. I mean, this is something I come to my mind, that they should not count on you. That they should never count, in fact, on the third party to take that courage and that consistency. Just learn some principles, of course, when you build a business, to generate cash, for example, and to be healthy and to have a healthy business, and be realistic also. It's not meant for everybody. And there is someone who said that, before you do a business plan, first do a life plan. And if you have a life plan, then maybe you can be prepared for something.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I was just telling our board of directors when we were celebrating that we had hit this milestone of 75% of the members using it,
Yes.
doubled and tripled. We had set a goal to hit 70% by July, and we're ahead of that. So I was talking to the board and I said, you know what, there's a switch that flips in our members, and I see it, where they decide on the inside they're going to make this business be successful. All we're doing is giving them tools. If that switch flips, get out of the way, they're going to be successful with or without us.
Right. So mindset, intentions, things that are really what a human being can do, and can do much more and beyond what they know that they can do. So that's the thing with us coaches and people who are trying to encourage this to develop. People have this will, this intention, but sometimes they underestimate how much they can do, right?
Yeah.
So, there is another thing that I always say, because that's the purpose of this moment that we try to create here for a half hour, and we have a few minutes left. So I would like to just say that many of the people that impact other people don't know the kind of impact they have. And they don't know how much they can even change someone's life. I mean, really. And I'm very much of a believer that every single individual on earth will, in a lifetime, change someone's life. So I don't know why I have this conviction. So, so because I have this conviction, maybe you know of someone, or something in your own life where someone came, many, many years later, and said something to you that you didn't know. Can you
Oh,
remember?
wow. Yeah. My greatest teacher was my grandfather. And I'll share one lesson because it's a powerful story for your listeners. And this lesson changed the trajectory of my life, and it is the basis of my life today. So what had happened is both of my parents were alcoholics, and I was in this abusive situation, and I used sports to kind of vent my frustration. I was a pretty good athlete. In this particular game, I was a point guard, and so I'd bring the ball down and shoot and whatnot. And we were just winning like crazy the first half. And the second half, the opposing coach set what's called a trap. And in a trap, when you come across the half court line, they come up and attack. And I lost the ball, and so on and so forth. And 6 times I went to the exact same spot and lost the ball. We ended up losing the game. I stormed out of the gym and went over to my grandpa's house and was, firing mad. And my grandpa just kind of did his goatee. And I was like, "What, grandpa?" And he said, "You get what you focus on." And I was like, "What?" I didn't do anything wrong, blaming the coach. And he said, "Let me ask you a question." And I want everybody to visualize this. The first half of the game, when you were winning, what were you focused on? I said, "Scoring, hitting my goal." And the second half of the game, when they changed how they defended you, what were you focused on? And I said, "The defenders, getting past the defenders." He said, "Yeah, you get what you focus on."
Mm-hmm.
And I had this visceral snap, and I was like, "Oh my God." And he said these words, "Terry, your life is hard." And I lived through the Great Depression, and I noticed that there were people in our community that made money, and their businesses and their lives got better in the Great Depression.
Mm-hmm.
And then there were another 80% of the people where their lives got worse. And I kept thinking, what's the difference? Is it education? Is it money? He said it wasn't. The people whose lives got better in the Great Depression were focused on the opportunity the Great Depression offered.
Yeah.
And he said, it changed my life, and I want you to change your life. You get what you focus on. That's been my mantra my whole life. And now, no matter what's happening, I look for the good. I look for how I can do good. I look for another way to get there, and I don't focus on the obstacle.
You know, you're talking like a survivor. You know that?
Yeah, a thriver.
Survivor.
Not just a survivor, I'm a thriver.
No, really, it brings me back to different books of, you know, Holocaust survivors and people who went through life-threatening situations and suffering. We should not need, you know, that extreme to reach that kind of level. We should prevent that from happening, and then be a little bit of a visionary of our own destiny and be at that level. I mean, it's totally possible, right?
100%. And, you know, now with COVID, I was like, okay, COVID happened. How is this going to change things? Somehow it's going to make it easier. Look for a way. And, you know, now with the economy getting shaky, I'm like, okay, that's just going to open new doors. So we have a tendency as humans to focus on the negative, to let our fear rule us. And, you know, my mantra is you get what you focus on, shift and focus on what you want to create, and look for the path, because there's always a path from where you are to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I can reframe what you're saying by saying, do not get influenced or distracted by the news and by what's dark out there, because it's pretty dark. Of course, not living in your dreams or in your bubble, in your, you know, but you have to realize that you can generate a lot of positive. And with you and what you generate, and you trust in yourself, because it's very important in conscious business to be trusting in yourself, right? Once you feel ready about that, I think that's the point, in fact, when someone can really start something. It's when the person feels ready, mature, responsible, and conscious, so they can move forward with that. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing this story, of a very, very emotional story, and to be vulnerable and open up like that. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I just believe it. And no matter what you're going through, no matter what challenges you have, shift your mind, look for a better path, focus on the goal. You get what you focus on. So shift.
Yeah. And you, the person who you are, can be a shift for someone else, meaning they watch you, or they listen to you, or the way you speak to them, and then it makes a shift also for someone else, right?
Absolutely.
So that's a ripple effect. Well, okay. Well, Terry, thank you so much for joining tonight, and I hope we'll see you again. Terry Maxwell, Shift Co. And you can find her also on LinkedIn if you want to have a profile, right? And
yes,
probably the other channels. So thank you again. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Everybody, see you soon. Bye-bye.